Let us start with the Cora over at Pitt and Frank LLC. And Cora, this is a really important story because this involves a story we've talked about. It's continuing. I'll tell you about this. You'll shake your head going, "Yep, you're right." And it's happening similarly in condos all across the country, including other places in Louisville. You may remember, we'll call her Marty, wrote in several months ago about her condo in a high-rise building. There are some reports that the balconies are a safety hazard and they need to be torn down. In fact, they've done some tearing down of the under part of the balconies. And Brett, I know we've talked with you about this as well, but there are also reports that only several of the balconies need to actually be repaired and few, if any, replaced. Now, there have been multiple votes by the condo board, according to Marty. Some of them maybe have been behind closed doors, maybe some not. But some of the folks who live in this building are thinking something's wrong here. The reports are all over the place. Now they're putting some sort of deadline on getting this done in the next couple of months to start things going. It seems like to some it's being rushed, that there are some reports they differ. So every vote seems to be different. And Marty says residents have lost confidence in their condo board, and some are feeling that this smells very fishy. So Marty wants to know, so what should she do and her fellow residents at this point? Cora?
Yes, Bob, and you're right. I think that is happening all around the country. And Marty, I'm sorry that you're still experiencing that. So what I would recommend at this point, feel free to reach out to an attorney to represent you in this matter. Have them show up to the meetings. I want you to continue to be involved in those meetings and any type of notice opportunities that you have. I think oftentimes we find homeowners who are frustrated with the decisions that are being made or how things are being handled on behalf of the HOA, but they're reluctant to get involved. So if you have the opportunity to get involved, we would encourage you to do that. Make your voice be heard. And moreover, if you feel like the HOA is not doing the job as it should, not representing the homeowners as they should be, and that the funds may not be used appropriately, decisions, estimates, so on and so forth, have an attorney be engaged just for oversight. I am quite confident that perhaps the HOA as well has an attorney. So those legal professionals can talk to one another, exchange documents. And I think that that's a good way of checks and balances too, because, that's a lot of money. These Juliet balconies, everything that we're talking about, especially if it's being spent unnecessarily, that can be very concerning for those homeowners to absorb. Not to mention it's changing the dynamic of that condominium complex. And we talked about this in past episodes regarding the marketability of the property, the usable square feet, so on and so forth. So bottom line, I would encourage you to stay engaged in whatever opportunities are provided to you, stay informed, and then ultimately engage your professionals to assist you in those types of communications and getting your questions answered before it's too late.
Yeah, so Cora, a couple of things here. First of all, the catch-22 on this is if they hire an attorney, that's a cost that's going to come out of whatever group of homeowners or condo owners who want to pursue it. But at the same time, the attorneys for the condo association are also going to charge the condo association, which ultimately also comes out of the condo owner. So they're actually paying here and paying there, which doesn't sit well, I'm sure, with anybody. So and I don't know that there's an answer to that. I'm just making that statement. And then the other question is, at what point can there be some sort of injunction to stop any sort of procedures to eliminate or change the balconies before a thorough investigation has been done?
Right. To your first point, Bob, not only is it a catch-22, but I might even call it a double-edged sword. And so you're right. You're paying out of one pocket and then paying out of the other pocket, just in different types of capacities. However, it's just as those folks who choose to sell their home without a real estate agent, they think they're saving when in reality they're not. So I would apply that analogy to what's going on here. You want to engage the right professionals. And even though they are going to be compensated for the service that they provide to you, they're going to save you in the long run. Okay. So you want to engage your professionals to provide those services that you may not have been either licensed or trained for. And then secondly, as far as an injunction or anything that you can do, short answer is I'm not sure that one might be granted, absent some sort of abusive process. I'm not sure that there would be a hearing in that regard, so long as those restrictions, those covenants, everything put to record as far as the powers that the HOA has as a board award and the voting and everything is being complied with. While some may disagree with the contractors, the number of contractors that are bidding this out, the recommendations and the time that it's taking, so long as they haven't abused any of those powers, or worse, that they have not complied with the restrictions or the powers that they have been granted, I'm not sure that, what we can do. I understand that there are a lot of people that have issues with their HOAs. And again, I think it comes down to getting the professionals involved to ask the right questions and to just not turn a blind eye. I think that they're representatives of you and your neighbors. And as such, that should open the door to have honest conversations and address any concerns and unnecessary expenses that they may be exposed to.
But final points here. So there may be an abuse of power. There may be, according to the fact pattern that has been established, multiple votes and a variety of directions. So what constitutes the original vote, the second vote, of primary votes that haven't been even tallied in public? So there's a lot of things that could point to an abuse here that needs to be looked at. And so final, Cora, an attorney like yourself, costs for any of our listeners who are wondering, I got a condo, I got a problem, where do they proceed? What do they do? Dollar-wise,
Absolutely.
What are we looking at?
Bottom line, I think engage a real estate attorney that specializes in this type of HOA representation. Typically, that's going to involve keywords such as HOA experience, litigation, again, real estate. Those are the types of words that you want to look for in a practitioner of law, and not just one that maybe practices in a different area. Get one that has a niche in this specific need so that they can make sure they're asking and reviewing the right documents and proffering the best advice possible. If it needs to go to court, if they need to get an injunction or a cease and desist or whatever the appropriate manner may be, hiring the right professional, just like in anything that you do, is going to give you your best foot forward in solving this problem.
All right, we move on. Let's go over to Brad. We spent a lot of time on this, but I think it's an important point for anybody who's stuck in this problem. And I know there are several condo units around the city that have.